Hello everyone, my name is Greta. I'm also known as Sandalsticks Theatre. I am a professional storyteller and actor and puppeteer, and I tell stories of all kinds. I also run drama and storytelling workshops here in the UK and abroad. Now today I thought I'd share with you an old Japanese folktale all about a feisty old lady. I think we need more stories about feisty old women. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, once upon a time, a long time ago in Japan, there was an old lady who lived in a hut on top of a hill. Now, this old lady, she was content and she was happy, but she was also very, very poor. She could only afford to eat one meal a day. Well, one day, the lady had just finished making herself a bowl full of yummy round rice cakes. When she dropped the bowl on the floor, it cracked open and the rice cakes, well, they rolled out the open door. "Oh no, that was my 1 meal a day," said the old lady, and she ran out the door after the rice cakes, and she saw them rolling down the hill, bouncing over branches, bouncing over sticks and stones, going faster and faster and faster, and the old lady, well, she ran right after them, all the way down to the bottom of the hill where the rice cakes stopped by a flowing stream, which was right next to some big rocks. "Oh, phew, my dinner is saved," said the old lady, and she bent down to pick up the rice cakes. And right at that point, a blue scaly arm with a claw-like hand came out from behind the rocks and picked up the rice cakes and disappeared. "What? How dare you? That was my 1 meal a day," said the lady, and she ran behind the rocks where she'd seen the hand come out from, and in one of the rocks there was an opening. Now we have to remember that this lady, she was quite old. However, this was her 1 meal a day and she would not let it go, and in she went. And she found herself standing in a narrow tunnel, and then right ahead of her she could see a blue creature with her rice cakes in its hand. "Come back, right now! That was my 1 meal a day! Come back!" But the blue creature kept running ahead of her, and the old lady followed for quite a long time, and finally got to a huge cave. Oh, now this cave was full of these blue creatures with long scaly arms and claw-like hands, horns on top of their heads, big wide mouths, and not one, not two, but 3 red eyes right in the middle of their heads. And then the lady, she realized where she was. She was in the den of the Oni. The Oni. Now, the Oni are Japanese trolls or demons. They live underground. They only come out after dark, and they are always, and I mean they are always, hungry. Now, the biggest of the Oni King, was stuffing its face with these rice cakes. Nom, 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 nom. Now, we have to remember, again, that the lady, she was quite old and she was absolutely petrified, but this was her 1 meal a day and she would not let it go, and she said, "Thieves! There are a lot of you! Great big blue thieves! That was my 1 meal a day! Now, give it back!" Now, the big Oni, who was stuffing its face with the rice cakes, said, "Did you make these rice cakes?" "Yes, I did. And they are rather lovely rice cakes, if I have to say so myself." "Well, in that case, come along then and make some more." My goodness me, the lady was petrified. But she had no choice but to follow the Oni, and so they walked for what seemed like hours through tunnels and caves. Up and down they went, left and right, until they got to another stony cave, which was right next to a trickling stream. And in the middle of this cave stood a massive cooking pot. Now the big Oni picked up 5 grains of rice, put into the pot, and then poured in some water from the stream. 5 grains! You will need at least 5 cups of rice to feed one of you blue things. But the King Oni just picked up a big wooden spoon, handed it to the lady and said, "Stir!" And so the lady started stirring the cooking pot. Oh! And then she realized she was actually stirring with a magic spoon, because the 5 grains of rice multiplied and the whole cooking pot filled up with lovely rice, and she could make rice cakes to feed all the Oni. And once she'd done that, she said, well, now that I have made rice cakes for all of you, I think it is about time that you show me the way home, yes? But the Oni just turned to the lady and said, "No, little lady. You will stay here in this cave and cook rice cakes for us till the end of your days." And now that is a very, very long time. And so it was that the lady, she stayed in the cave for weeks. Months went by, almost a whole year, and every single day she was thinking about how she could possibly escape. Well, one day, as she was pouring water into the cooking pot, it dawned on her where the water actually came from. Of course, it came from the little trickling stream, but surely that had to be the same stream that was flowing by the hill under her house, beneath her house. If only I had a boat, thought the lady as she was stirring the pot. Of course, the rice pot. The rice pot would be the perfect boat. And so the next day, when the Oni were asleep, she dragged the rice pot across the stony cave into the stream. She jumped into it and used the wooden spoon as a paddle, and she started paddling towards freedom. However, the sound of the rice pot being dragged had woken up the Oni, and they came running all the way down to the stream, but had to stop because they didn't like getting their feet wet, and also they couldn't swim. And so they shouted at the lady, "You will be sorry! You will be sorry! You will be sorry!" However, the lady looked behind her and she said, "See you later!" And she was paddling as fast as she could, and right ahead of her she could see a patch of sunlight, and soon she would be free. But then something strange started to happen, because the stream started to shrink. It was getting narrower and narrower and narrower, and the water was disappearing, and rocks and stones appeared in the bed of the stream, and she could see fish gasping for breath, and she turned around to see what was going on. The Oni were sucking up the water from the stream, filling their big, huge bellies. The rice pot ground to a halt, and very soon the Oni would be able to walk across the bed of the stream and catch the old lady, and she had to think very quick. Now we have to remember that this lady, she was quite old, but she was also very, very clever, and all around her she could see gasping fish, and she thought, "Aha, I have an idea." And she picked up all the fish, as many as she could hold in her hand, and she threw them towards the Oni, and she said, "Here, have some fish stew." And now what is it we have to remember about the Oni? The Oni are always, and I mean they are always, hungry. As they opened their big mouths, whoosh, and the water gushed back into the stream, the rice pot floated free, and the lady paddled out to freedom. Onto the banks, and she jumped ashore, and she pushed the rice pot down the stream so it would float down to the river and then out to the ocean, and that way the Oni would never be able to find her. And then she kept the wooden spoon, she climbed up to her hut, and from that day on, she could make enough rice cakes to feed the whole of Japan. And if ever any of the rice cakes rolled out the open door and down the hill, well, she said, oh, never mind, let the Oni have them. And from that day on, she lived happily ever after. So, thank you so much for listening. That was that story about the Oni, blue Japanese trolls. Now, if there are any stories you would like me to tell, please let me know. That would be fantastic. Also, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be amazing. Make me very, very happy. And yeah, please keep sharing stories with your friends and family. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye.